everyone, welcome to today's video. This is going to be a palette bingo. This is something I've never done before, but it was requested and I thought it would be cool to do something like this. I'm not sure. This is the second time I'm filming this video. I tried filming this last week, but it had a lot of lighting issues because it was too bright, and today it's a little bit murky, so I hope the video comes out nicely. The palette that I will be using is the Urban Decay Born to Run. That was also the palette that was suggested I use, and I think that this is a good one for a palette bingo, just in case you don't know what it looks like. This is what the Born to Run looks like, and it has quite a few very interesting shades. So let's see what kind of shade selection we come up with when we pick a couple of random shadows from this palette. Another thing that I want to address in this video are hopefully two things. I'm not sure yet. Depending on the colors that I pick, I'd like to also talk about how I like to do color combinations and how I decide what colors to wear together. Because I think that depending, if we get some interesting shades, then I might be able to address something like that. And the second thing I'd like to address is why I don't really do any videos on like new makeup releases and anything like that. I have a little bit of a philosophy behind that, and it was asked in a comment and I don't think I was really explaining it very well. So I thought that while I'm doing the eye look that I'm going to be doing with the shadows that I pick from the palette, I could also talk to you a little bit about these kind of topics. I think that that could make for a more interesting video. So this is the video, so this is the palette we're going to be using, and I've got my phone right here, so I'm going to be picking a couple of random eyeshadows from the palette. So let's see. The first number I'm getting is number 20, which I think I'll just go like horizontally like that. So that would mean the shade Radio, which is a great one because I love that shade. It's one of my favorites in the palette. Number 2 is the second one, which would be this one right here, which is Stranded. Number 16, we get Punk. Number 1, which would be Breakaway, which is a nice brow bone highlight. And the 5th shade I'm picking is number 9. So that would be 7, 8, 9. That's this one, Bahia. And then I'm getting number 7, which would be Good as Gone. So I'm getting 2 matte dark browns. I've got a brow bone shade. I've got a lid inner corner kind of shade. I've got this like pop of color as well, and I've got a really nice warm matte. So those are the 6 shades that I will be using. It's not really the most interesting selection I think you can get with this palette. I was definitely hoping to get some of these berries, but those are sadly not in the selection. But I do have enough here to really make a cohesive eye look, I think. So then we can get into how do I make color combinations part of the video, I guess. So when it comes to how I decide to wear colors on my eyes or in a makeup look in general, what I like to go is for a very neutral face. So I'm wearing a very neutral blush right now. This is by Tarte and it's called Seduce. It's like very similar to Expose, but it's a little bit, I think it's a little bit warmer than Expose actually. And I just really like the look it gives on my cheeks. And then when it comes to eyeshadow, I really like to go for like a blend of colors. And if I want to go for like warm and cool in the same look, I tend to do warm toned on the upper part of my eyes and then the cooler tones usually on the bottom or the other way around. I definitely like wearing pops of color here and there, so that's why I'm liking the orange and the teal that I pulled. But they can work really well, I think, if you don't put them too close together. And again, if you then make a choice for putting something on your bottom or your upper lid, it's going to be really, really nice to work that out. I tend to then pick my lipstick last because I tend to sort of go with the undertone of the eyeshadow, and that's how I decide what lipstick to wear. So yeah, that's sort of how I figure that out. And then as to where to put different shades on my eyes, I actually really go with my eye shape, and that's why like I'm wearing a full face of makeup apart from lips and eyes right now. And I hope you can really see that I have a naturally deep crease. Like I don't have hooded eyes per se, because I do have an actual crease. It's not as the fold of my lid really goes down. I just have incredibly deep set eyes, which is also why this part around my nose is always very blue, because my eyes go so far down. Because I already have quite a bit of a crease, I don't like going too dark with the shades in there, because 9 out of 10 times I feel it can just make my eyes disappear almost, because I also have like a darker eye color, and then it just becomes a little bit muddy, and I don't like that kind of look. So I tend to be very careful where I place my eyeshadows, and I never really go for really dark shades such as this in like actually on the lid, apart from a bit of liner. I think this can still work for like a smoke out shade, but for me this would already be a little bit too dark. But I think maybe I'm just gonna have to challenge myself and see if I can put that, for instance, in the outer V. But I think that color combinations isn't all about just what colors you're using, but also where you're using them and how much you blend. That all goes into it, I think. So that's something that I'll definitely be talking about when I do this eye look. So the first shade I'm going to be taking out is this orangey shade that I pulled Baya, and I'm just going to take a fluffy MAC 217 for that. And I'm just going to fluff this into my crease. So I didn't really pull a transition shade with this shade selection. So in order to make sure that I sort of blend it out a little bit more, because right now my crease kind of disappears and I want to make sure that orange pop is there a little bit more, I'm going to take a very wispy brush. This is the Zoeva Looks Defined Crease, and I'm going to take that same shade and I'm sort of going to use this to really sort of bring that orange up a little bit higher. And then for something really boring, I'm just going to take this matte cream color on my brow bone. So before we move on to the next step, I thought I could start talking to you about why I don't make any new in kind of makeup release kind of videos. And the main reason why I don't do them is to protect myself. I mean, I'm filming this the day after Black Friday and there were a lot of great sales around, and I definitely bought a lot of things that were on my wish list. But I kind of decide what to put on my wish list, not based on like what's hot and new. I don't really believe in the hype of super duper new makeup. There's only a couple of things that I really look for in terms of makeup releases, and that's Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes, maybe Too Faced eyeshadow palettes, and then I kind of go off of recommendations of YouTubers and bloggers that I follow to really decide what else to look for. 9 out of 10 times I decide what to buy a lot on actually declutters and collection videos. So I love watching like blush collections and declutters, and those kind of videos are some of my favorites to really get an idea. And if I watch a lot of blush declutters in one go, for instance, I tend to have an idea of what people tend to gravitate towards and what sort of is like really nice and what doesn't really work. Because I don't really follow any of the like makeup release videos that a lot of YouTubers are doing. I'm not following a whole lot of Instagram accounts. And the reason for that is simply because I don't want to get sucked into the hype of a product. I really first want to have a general idea of what I might like versus what I might not like, and just really save a lot of money that way. Because I know that if I start following a lot of these like what's new in the drugstore or what's new in makeup land, like there's so much coming out every single week, it gives me a headache. And I've just decided to manage myself to not spend, like to not overspend on makeup, because my bank account just wouldn't like it, because I don't get sent a whole lot of PR. In fact, it's been like a year since I received any PR. So a lot of what you see here, I buy with my own money. So that also means that I would then have to go out and buy everything, and that's how it would make me feel that way, that I would have to go out and spend all this money to buy all the latest and the greatest, and that is just something I don't want to do. I don't want to put myself in debt over a hobby YouTube channel. So that's not something I'm willing to do. So I want to try and stay within my limit. So I sort of make a wish list, and I kind of divide the wish list into steps of like, I'm first going to get this. So I kind of prioritize what I would like to get first. And then when news hits me of like the new Urban Decay Naked Cherry, for instance, then I know I want to put money aside for like the next month so I can try and get it. That's usually how I go about these things. Plus, another thing you should know, I live in the Netherlands. New makeup releases, and over here where I live, just don't really go together. It takes an awful lot of time until we get things. We don't have the Urban Decay Christmas palette yet, the Elements one. That's what I'm still looking out for, so I can hopefully see it in store and swatch it before I decide whether I want to get it, because I feel it looks very similar to the Heavy Metals palette from last year. So I'm still umming and ahhing whether it's going to be worth my time and effort to try and get both. But in the US, that palette has been out since September, and we don't have it yet. So it's a lot of the releases take a very long time to get here, and if I want to try and get my hands on them, I have to pay outrageous amounts of shipping. And with some brands or products, I'm willing to do that, but not with everything. If I know that it's going to be brought out here anyways, then I don't want to go through spending a lot more money on a product that is going to be released here anyway. So in terms of keeping up with makeup releases, I'm not really into it. One, because of financial reasons, and two, because I just know I wouldn't be able to get half of the stuff, and then I get really excited. This happened to me when that, what was it, that Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette came out. Back at that time, we didn't have Too Faced yet here. So I was super excited, and I was looking everywhere to see if I could order it online. The only way I could get it was to pay triple for the palette via eBay. And I was like, I'm just not gonna do that. So I eventually never got my hands on that palette. And now you see a lot of people decluttering it because now everybody's over the hype and everybody's like, nah, it's not as good as everybody was saying it is. So to me, it's also like, it's a little bit of self-protection, but also because I just know that a lot of the products that brands are saying are coming out, it could literally take months until it hits the market over here, if I can already get my hands on it. And it's just such a pain to try and really be hyped up about something and then just not being able to get it. So I try to sort of limit and really sort of make my choices, and I sort of like picking and choosing the things that I expect might be really good. That was perhaps a bit of a rant, but let's just continue doing this eye look because I'm going off on a tangent here. We had already used this shade and this shade, so I think it's time for us to try and work in this punk shade. So what I like to do with darker shades like this, if I use them in an eye look, I definitely think that this needs something dark to darken it up, so I'm glad I got this shade. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take a very fluffy brush. It's a little bit dirty because I only tend to use it with darker shades like this. So I'm just going to use this. It's a pencil brush called the Petite Crease, again by Zoeva. I think Zoeva makes really great brushes, by the way, so that's why I'm using a lot of them, and especially their eyeshadow brushes. And then I like to just pull like a diagonal line across my lid like that, and then sort of push it into my crease. And then I like to go over it with the shade I already have in my crease to sort of blend it out. So let's see how this goes. It's actually going pretty well. So what I like about this brush is that it sort of blends at the same time as you're putting it on, so it's never too intense to begin with. So then again, I'm going to be using my MAC 217 and this shade here, and I'm going to blend this out. So then we're going to finish off the rest of the lid, and I'm going to go in with Stranded, which was that gold shade that I pulled. I just think that this will be very pretty all over the eyes, so that's what I'm going to be using it for. And I think I'll foil that. So I'm going to be using some MAC Fix Plus, and I like always putting the shadow dry onto my brush and then spray it with Fix Plus because I feel it works a bit better. Those are my neighbor's kids, so if you hear any yelling, I'm sorry. So now we still have 2 more shades left, I think. Yeah, because I now use these 4. And we still have Good As Gone and Radio left. I think what I'm gonna do, because I was saying something about using a liner, but yeah, I could still do that if I'd like to. I definitely want to put Radio onto the lower lash line, so let's do that first. Yeah, so as I had expected, because I put that Radio shade on my lower lash line, I think there is a bit of a disconnect between the browns and the blues. So what I'm going to be doing actually is I'm going to take a little bit of the punk shade that I already used and sort of really put it here to connect it to that upper lash line. So there's a little bit more of a connection, but I do like how the orange and the blue nicely clash. I really like that color clash. So I think I do want to go in with a little bit of liner, and the only shade I haven't used yet is Good As Gone, and I think it could be really nice as a bit of liner. It is more of a cool tone brown compared to punk, which is why I didn't want to put it in the outer V, because I think it wouldn't go very well with the orange. And then as a last touch, I'm going to be using Breakaway as a bit of an inner corner highlight. And then I'm going to be using the mascara that I'm currently using, which is the False Lash Wings Midnight Blacks by L'Oreal. So that's the finished eye look. I've got my mascara on, and I think it's nice because it's got warm and cool toned already in the look that I'm going in with my most neutral shade I have here, which is Urban Decay's Liar. That is Liar on, and that means that this is the end of the video because the makeup look is all done. I really like this clash between the orange and the blue. I think that is a really nice color combination to make. I also really like this blue shade against my eye color. I think that sort of like teals and navies are really nice if you have brown eyes and you want to make them look a little bit more brown. It's what oranges do for me as well. If I really want to make my eyes look a little bit more sultry and smoky, then sort of like Naked Heat orange vibes and also something like this really deepens up my eye color. If I want to like sort of make my eyes look lighter because I have a hint of green in them, I usually go for purples or greens because it really brings out the green in my eyes. So really try to also work with what your eye color is and with your eye shape if you try to make color combinations on your complexion, especially in eye looks. So yeah, that's the end of the video now, truly. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I would love for you to subscribe. I make new videos twice a week on Thursday and Sunday, 5 a.m. Central European Time. That's when my videos go live, and I really hope you have a great day. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!